Councilmember Nadeau, good to see you.
Very nice to see you, sir. How's your day going?
It's going fine. Going fine. How about yours?
I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
I
know we're live on YouTube, so if the public wants to know. So busy, I don't know what meeting I'm in anymore.
I started reading the wrong statement we had a hearing earlier and I started reading the wrong statement. I'm like, that's not where I am.
Yeah, and we got to own those ourselves sometimes.
Yep. Staff does everything they can, but sometimes I'm just
sometimes you open the wrong file.
I gotta have it together. Yeah, I gotta have it together.
All right, council member, we're just waiting on a quorum. I've resent the link to all the members of the committee. And so once we get the folks we anticipate, we'll be able to get started. I'll let you know.
Thank you, Sean. Council members Pinto and Henderson, good to see you both.
Good afternoon.
Sean, should we get started or should we be waiting a bit?
So Councilmember Tran White anticipated coming. I'd give him just another minute to see if he'll be able to make it. And then we'll get started and I'll let you know when I get the recording going so you can begin, Councilmember.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, Councilmember, I think you can go ahead and get started. I'll start the recording and you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert White, Council Member at Large and Chair of the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities. Today is Thursday, May 19th, 2022, and we're meeting virtually on Zoom. The time is now 2:07 p.m. and I'm calling to order this regular meeting of the committee. We have a quorum consisting of Ward 1 Councilmember Brianne Nadeau, Ward 2 Councilmember Brooke Pinto, and my at-large colleague, Councilmember Henderson. Today, we have 3 bills on our agenda. The first is Bill 24-174, the Procurement Agencies Alignment Amendment Act of 2022. This bill seeks to enhance the ability of the Department of General Services, or DGS, to follow best practices in contracting and procurement. Unlike many district government agencies, DGS handles its own contracting and procurement responsibilities rather than relying on the Office of Contracting and Procurement, or OCP. Over the years, we've seen some missteps in DGS contracting practices. In response, Councilmembers Pinto, Che, and I introduced this bill on March 30th, 2021, and Councilmember Allen later co-sponsored it. The bill would require OCP to conduct an annual audit of DGS procurements and review DGS's procurement training requirements. It would require DGS procurement personnel to attend OCP's Procurement Training Institute, and it would establish that DGS, like OCP, needs to prepare and submit an annual acquisition plan. On October 25th, 2021, this committee held a hearing at which we heard from the heads of DGS and OCP. Based on what we heard, I believe that the proposed changes will help improve our contracting and procurement performance, and that the measure is ready for adoption. Is there discussion on Bill 24-174? Hearing none, I move the committee print and report for Bill 24-174, the Procurement Agencies Alignment Act of 2022, with leave for staff to make technical and conforming changes. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I think that was everyone, but all opposed, please indicate by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion passes. Our second measure on the agenda is Bill 24-215, the Sexual Harassment Data Collection and Reporting Act of 2022. Members of the public and press have sought information on how often our DC government employees face workplace sexual harassment. In responding to those requests, we were disturbed to find that the information was not consistently tracked, let alone analyzed, which could leave our civil servants vulnerable to patterns of abuse. In response, I introduced the bill in September 2019 to mandate data collection and reporting. Although 11 other members supported that bill as co-introducers and co-sponsors, and although ANC 6B submitted formal comments in support, the 2019 bill never received a hearing. So on April 21st, 2021, I introduced a substantially similar measure before us, Bill 24-215, with the support of council members Allen, Che, Gray, Henderson, Lewis, George, Nadeau, Pinto, and Silverman. The bill tasks the Office of Human Rights, or OHR, with compiling annual data on agencies' receipt, investigation, and resolution of employee sexual harassment claims. We held a hearing on October 6, 2021, and have received constructive feedback from OHR and workplace harassment experts about how to make the reporting structure work better. In light of that feedback, the committee print contains a few changes from the introduced version. First, instead of relying entirely on the sexual harassment officers or shows that many agencies have already designated by mayoral order, the committee print would give agencies flexibility to achieve compliance through an appropriate designate. Second, the bill no longer tries to define sexual harassment because we're handling that through a separate measure. Third, the committee print gives the executive some flexibility to aggregate data from some small agencies so as to avoid exposing their individual employees who have suffered sexual harassment to too much scrutiny. On a related note, the Council Office on Racial Equity, or CORE, has taken a generally positive view of this bill, but expressed some regret that it doesn't mandate demographic disaggregation of the sexual harassment data we will gain through the bill. As the Racial Equity Impact Assessment, or REIA, acknowledges, it would be tough to do so without further risking exposure of individual employees. The committee report says this, but I want to emphasize it here. I expect OHR to gather and analyze racial and other demographic data on DC government employee sexual harassment mandates today. Discussion on Bill 24-215. Hearing none, I move the committee print and report for Bill 24-215, the Sexual Harassment Data Collection and Reporting Act of 2022, with leave for staff to make technical and conforming changes. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I think that's everyone, but all opposed, please indicate by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion passes. Last but not least, we turn to Bill 24-229, the Human Rights Enhancement Amendment Act of 2022. As committee members are well aware, the Human Rights Act of 1977 contains a wide range of very important anti-discrimination provisions. It prohibits discrimination based on of over 20 characteristics in employment, housing, public accommodations, or educational institutions. Victims of discrimination can seek restitution in court or through a lengthy investigation process run by OHR. The council has been giving OHR various novel responsibilities frequently in recent years. But before last year, when OHR came under this committee's purview, they developed something of a backlog of good ideas that civil rights experts and other members of the public had put forward to improve the Human Rights Act itself. Bill 24-229 acts on three of those good ideas. First, it adds homelessness status as a protected characteristic. People with lived experience of homelessness report that they are turned away from places of accommodation and shut out of employment opportunities. This measure would give them a new tool against discrimination. It would also require OHR to educate law enforcement personnel on the harms of discrimination based on homeless status, based on an observation that police officers are often called in to intervene in some capacity when a person experiencing homelessness is turned away from a business. Second, Bill 24-229 would enhance the Human Rights Act's protection against workplace harassment. As detailed in the committee report, the courts have rightly recognized harassment as a form of discrimination in the workplace, prohibited under both our Human Rights Act and a similar federal law. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. However, the courts have also established entrenched precedents that employers can only be liable for harassment that is, quote, severe or pervasive, end quote. In practice, these historical opinions become a tool for tribunals to throw out allegations of deeply disturbing sexist, racist, and other discriminatory conduct without ever letting a jury weigh in. Our bill seeks to codify a definition of unlawful workplace harassment, including sexual harassment, in the DC Code for the very first time, and to make that definition clearly a little broader than what the courts recently recognized as unlawful. Finally, Bill 24-229 will clarify that independent contractors are employees who can benefit from the workplace discrimination protections of the Human Rights Act. While the language of the Human Rights Act arguably already supports an interpretation that independent contractors are protected, some federal courts and OHR itself have sometimes taken a different position. As a growing share of our workforce take on jobs that companies try to characterize as independent contracts, we cannot leave those workers even potentially vulnerable to discriminatory practices. I want to thank the National Coalition for Homelessness, National Women's Law Center, the Metro Washington Employment Lawyers Association, the Office of the Attorney General, the interim director and staff of OHR, and the many public witnesses who have provided thoughtful feedback on the existing Human Rights Act and on this bill. I'm confident that this measure will make a meaningful difference for our residents, workers, and visitors and students. Their discussion on Bill 24-229. Hearing none, I move the committee print and report for Bill 24-229, the Human Rights Enhancement Act 2022, with leave for staff to make technical and conforming changes. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I think that's everyone, but all opposed, please indicate by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the resolution passes. The business before the committee is concluded. The time is now 2:16 p.m. and this regular meeting of the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.